welcome you all to today's masterclass organized by AkiDwA. AkiDwA, a lot of people ask, what does AkiDwA mean? It means sisterhood in Swahili, and it was founded over 2 decades ago, or around 2 decades ago, by Salome Mbugua, to serve as an empowerment tool and support mechanism for women. And for years, AkiDwA has been influential in shaping Ireland's policy framework on women's empowerment and gender equality. Some of this will be highlighted in the video, which tells the story of AkiDwA. Over to you, Alana.
Super. I'm going to share a little video now.
Dear Ireland, as I walk out the door, I feel your piercing gaze. Do you see beauty? A strong, resilient woman, like your mother and your mother's mother. A generation of strong, determined women carving a better future for their children and their children's children. May scare you? An imagined fear? Fear of the unknown, not knowing what changes brings tomorrow. Anxiety and sleepless night. Black faces, strange voices haunting you, the 1.4% of the population, ever increasing, a threat to your future way of life. You don't need to be charitable anymore. The diaspora have seen to that. We work and toil and sweat all the hours you can give us. A social worker cleaning offices, an engineer driving taxis, a nutritionist serving fries, a lawyer working as a security man. We work like dogs, like bonded slaves. We work like brats. Give us the opportunity we long to belong, to be treated as equals.
Dear Ireland, I stand before you now, the black baby of your childhood, all grown up, a modern woman in a modern world, ready to save the world. Paying my dues to Mother Africa and a commission to Western Union. Paying my way in my adopted land, grateful for your past generosity, for all your good intentions, even misguided ones. Dear Ireland, you don't have to feed black babies anymore. We, the diaspora, do that infinitely better with no strings attached. We do our level best to make ends meet, paying taxes, rearing our families, educating the next generation, and instilling in them a desire to succeed, to know a better life. All the time, sending the little extra we can back home, like an Irish immigrant's letter from America. Dear Ireland, I am more like you than you care to know. Like ships, we navigate the same ocean. Slave ships, prison ships, famine ships, coffin ships, ghost ships. They are perilous journeying our common past. Beyond the horizon of sky and the water, we have all longed for a brighter tomorrow.
Bravo. Beautiful one. Yes, we all long for a brighter tomorrow. So without wasting any time, I want to invite Salome Mbugua to fire on with the masterclass session.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pamela. As you know, tonight we are actually starting our masterclasses for AkiDwA. And the masterclass today is actually to open for all the other masterclasses that are going to come. So it's really about the journey of AkiDwA and how we have strived for equality in the last 2 decades. Migration, as we all know, is a cause for individuals that make decision to leave their comfort zone to unfamiliar life. Success for each person that migrates depends so much on how they settle in the new land. One of the major challenges for any migrant is navigating the system of the new country. I arrived in Ireland in early 1990s, and 21 years ago, I started my activism journey here. This was during the Celtic Tiger period. The economy was booming. If you can all remember or recall, we even had government program that in every €4 you saved, you got €1. It had thresholds. I wanted to work as a social worker. After all, I had studied social work and worked on that capacity for 4 years in Kenya. I visited the social work office, the qualification office to examine my qualifications. And after discussion, I was informed the best option for me was to go back to college for 2 years and study social work. A suggestions that I declined. I did not see any need for studying for another master's degree. I had just completed a degree in equality studies in UCD. Struggling to pay a fee for my master's studies in UCD and to maintain myself, I had no choice but to take up a care job in a nursing home. I worked there for 3 months with elderly before adding in a new job where I could apply my social work skills, working with the boys who had challenging behavior in Dublin. This job, however, brought the best outcome in my life, which led to the development of AkiDwA. Many migrants that I met at the time highlighted lack of recognition of qualifications as a key major barrier to their progression. AkiDwA came up as a new paradigm within the framework of social change. Yes, Celtic Tiger meant change. Change for the Irish people who saw a country with growing economy thus affecting positive social mobility. The education system adopted to this change, encouraging adults to engage into education opportunities that would facilitate their social mobility. At the time, as it had happened everywhere in the globe, immigration started increasing, opposed to emigration that was common and regular for the country. The competition brought in by skilled migrants constituted a threat for people who have always lived in a homogeneous society. Thus, racism and lack of tolerance for people who looked different. Migrants started experiencing discrimination at all levels, from the community yet, where they were subjected some to vandalism of all sorts of attack in their home, street, and also they suffered from racial discrimination in accessing labor market. Indigenous Irish were prioritized for privileged jobs, and migrants could content themselves with unskilled jobs left by the indigenous who started moving up the social ladder. Migrant women were one of the most advantaged groups of migrants who would be left behind if no intervention was made. Indeed, a society with huge social gap remained unbalanced and unhealthy. Lifting up migrant women and addressing the disadvantage they faced should be problematized. AkiDwA came up as a social structure that would critically address the social context embraced by transforming Ireland. The process began by convening migrant women as AkiDwA needed experience-driven approach. The meetings that were held were informal. They started in Tempoba. Just few African women meeting regularly to share their experiences in a new country and supporting each other. We all had tough experiences. One woman's story in particular had moved my heart and pushed me hard in wanting to do something. She had her 2 children living, her and her 2 children were living in East Wall. The neighbors were very harsh towards her children to an extent of releasing hunting dogs to chase them. Her children lived in fear and rarely got out of the house. Another African woman who had come to Ireland with a business visa had opened an African product shop, mainly hair and beauty products, near Conley Station. Just to find her shop fundraised, she was in a state of despair, not knowing where to go and how to pay her way and maintain herself. I had also been targeted where I live. My shed was burned. We learned later that a few people in my estate were not happy with our presence. 23 years later, we still live there and have changed attitude and mentality of these neighbors with our humor and engagement at the community level. The AkiDwA group of the time consisted of young, highly qualified and ambitious women who wanted to fit into the society. We wanted to speak for ourselves. We wanted to share our experiences, challenge racism and discrimination, be able to access services and receive support without being intimidated or ignored. For us to be able to build the resilience for ourselves and other migrant women, we started by receiving support and learning how to deal with harsh situations, dealing with trauma, with mental health issues, and the challenges of dislocation from our home country, trying to locate. We were provided with the training and counseling by the Catherine Macaulay Center. This facilitated the group with the ability to reach out to others, although still when in healing process. We were able to set ourselves out for mobilization of migrant women around the country after going this process of healing. We carried out mapping of migrant women in Ireland in 16 counties. We made contact and made information collected based on this visit in building the movement of AkiDwA. We identified and appointed influential migrant women in each of the 16 countries. And through outreach and networking, we have been delivering services and support using these very, very same measures. It was important for us to link up with Indigenous women and organizations, which was key as well for bringing our women into mainstream. This played a huge part of AkiDwA establishment. We identified all the National Women's Network and met with them to share about our work and how they can support us. At the time, the National Women Council had a project called In From the Margin, funded by the Department of Justice. This was under the Equality for Women Measure project, part of implementation of the National Plan for Women, or the Women's Strategy. This project brought Indigenous, travelers, and migrant women together. We looked into the issue of racism and discrimination, and we communicated through social media, through radio and TV, and challenged and voiced concerns over spreading and increasing threat of racism in Ireland at that time. Personally, I learned a lot from these projects, which later built AkiDwA opportunity and capacity into building for our first funding with the government to deliver employment projects for migrant women under the government strategy. We also linked up with the Islamic Cultural Center and brought many women with us into the mosque, where we discussed issues of domestic violence and how we can link up and work together. In building resilience, education and training has been crucial and core part of our work in AkiDwA. We learned a lot from the Irish Indigenous women, especially on issues relating to inequality. I personally participated in many trainings, which helped me gain ideas that helped advancing the organization and the capacity to support other women. An organization which was called Banurat at the time invited me to participate in particular this training that was called Policy Position into Power. It was educating us on how we can position ourselves in reaching up to policymakers and make them to work towards the needs of women and all women. Our focus, however, was on migrant women. The Power Project in UCD, led by the popular or famous Alpha Smith, presented good ideas. After learning how Irish women were erased in the Irish history, the idea of AkiDwA, first publication, which is her story, written by Pamela, who is moderating today, which is Migration and Stories of African Women, was born out of this power project. We swear that the migration struggles and stories of African women will never be forgotten, and we documented them. This was our first publication. However, the education and training provided to the women helped quite a lot, including through the delivery of what we called the capacity building, to help women get out of their isolations, learn and share experiences from each other, get out of their comfort zone. The first training that we developed was called Training African Women to Represent. And we gave women the skills to be able to go to all the meetings and raise up their hands and speak about their experiences, but also to tell the meetings that they were participating in that they are there as well as part of the community. This helped build confidence and self-esteem, the development of personal development and life skills training, and exploring history of feminism, past, present, and the future, added weight and contributed to much needed skills and understanding for women. To date, over 4,000 migrant women have received this capacity building training, building their confidence, self-esteem, and helping them to present themselves. It was in fact during that training in Eden Day one of the training back in 2013 in County Offaly, when 5 women were called to be notified that they would be deported within 14 days. This led AkiDwA to the establishment of a campaign. My belief in particular for justice and equality was being tested. Women were panicking. They had 14 days to respond before they are deported alongside with their children. We called a few people, and with the support of Dr. Lonit Lentin in particular, we were able to hold a meeting that led to the establishment of CADIC, the Coalition Against the Deportation of Irish Citizens. The group had members from various backgrounds. It had lawyers, academia, children activists, all who contributed very positively to this campaign with their knowledge and expertise. The group had all the capacity to provide and support families that were going difficult time and living in fear of deportation. The meeting in Liberty Hall, the popular Liberty Hall, affected our relationship with the management there. We had booked a room for 100, but we ended up bypassing that number 300, and we were warned that we had been marked off in their book for not keeping the rules. Formal structures of CADIC were developed when the group received funding from Atlantic Philanthropies. Campaign meetings, demonstrations, and vigils with parents, children, and some supporters were organized and held on regular basis. The Irish-born unit within the Department of Justice was established. Parents with children born before 1st of January 2005 were given the opportunity to apply for residency. With over 1,700 people affected, CADIC helped them with information and supported them with the very much needed to apply. There were conditions though, which were tied to this eligibility and renewal of application. The parents had to become economically viable and not to depend on the state. They were not to apply for family reunification of siblings and spouses that were outside Ireland. This was also the very long time in 2005. The country was already going into recession. Accessing jobs then was going to be very problematic, and fulfilling these conditions was going to be a tough situation to be able to, eligibility to fulfill. However, many parents were happy to sign in those forms, even though with those conditions. After all, they could plan and move on with their lives if granted the residency. The impact of citizen referendum, however, continued to affect many families, and in particular migrant children. And we know up to now, there are children who still don't have any citizenship in this country. Despite migrant women resilience, we are still far from achieving equality. Racism and discrimination continue to affect migrants. Access to employment, services, and support as all the time hindered by employer bias, lack of cultural competency, and many other issues. However, as AkiDwA, we are proud that we have influenced social change after 20 years. A network that represents migrant women issues to be taken within the government programming in order to maintain social balance. Even though we haven't gotten all our issues addressed, nevertheless, we engaged a process that has been formally acknowledged through the financing of some of our programs by the state agencies. And our voices in policy making has always been considered at all structural levels. We do this work in partnership with others, which is critically essential when it comes to enhancing social change. And some of those partners are in this meeting tonight. To finish my presentation to you about our journey, I'll give you some of the key learnings that I have actually experienced in the last 25 years in building resilience, but also building the organization. First of all, it's very important to identify influential people and build allies. In my case, I've been introduced to funders who have funded projects and programs in AkiDwA, and to also attend trainings that have been able to help me build my skills. Also, identifying influential people may not be able to help, those people may not be able to help you directly, but they can connect you to other people who can actually help influence policy. And we have seen this in our work. My point number 2 is on networking and working in solidarity, in particular with Indigenous. Irish Indigenous women have been instrumental in the formation of AkiDwA and as it stands even up to now. They have been great support of our work, and they have been keeping the spirit of inclusive, including us as migrant women, still in the women movement. My point number 3 that I would like to raise is actually trying to turn every occasion into opportunity. And when you are used as a token, turn that tokenism into opportunities to communicate and share your message. Because indeed, most of the time, we feel that as an organization, and as me, for me as a leader, we are used as tokens. But when you get that opportunity, even if you're taken as a token, make sure that you share your message, you communicate, and you let people buy into what you believe in. We've also learned to be consistent in what we do, and in particular what I do. That if we actually keep we come up with an area of work, we don't keep on changing every time. And we try to be consistent in whatever we say, the messaging and the work that we do. I also believe that personally, that mentors matters. Seek mentors, both men and women, and use wisely. It's very, very important. I also know that Lord help those who help themselves. Do not spend so much with mentors or those who help you. Remember to take care of yourself as well. No God, no glory. It's important sometimes to take risk, because every time you speak and you challenge an issue of inequality, it can also be taken negatively and you would be fight back. Change is frightening, but it's energizing. Flexibility is a type of change that is definitely needed. We also say, it's also good to say that it's good to have a tip in a dream world. You need negotiation and diplomacy, which are key into helping you to understand policies and politics of the organization that you're working in. Network and get to know people that help you to develop and as a person, and also to develop personal relationships and organizational relationship. It's important also to keep perspective. Remember what is important in life. Having a life balance is good. Be well grounded and focused. And it's very difficult, for example, to actually have this balance in life. Also, it's important that you do not take yourselves too seriously. Remember who you are, where you come from, and where you are going. And this can help you to progress. I also, in sometimes and in some of the occasions, believed that luck do count. in some of the things that happened, you know, within the process of my work. And I sometimes still see this kind of lack, that lack count in some situation. Finally, and to finish, I want to encourage everyone this evening, and I want to say that and to emphasize that everything is possible. It's all depends on your attitude and your commitment. Not even the sky is the limit when you have that attitude and the commitment. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Salome, for that well-packaged session. And for those just joining us, I say welcome to AkiDwA at 20, striving for equality, 2 decades of building resilience. So now we come to the question and answer session. We will all agree that we must continue to uphold women's rights and strengthen our efforts to help organizations like AkiDwA put in place programs like this and that will continue to advance and uplift women. So as you gather your thoughts and concerns, I have some questions that I will be asking the moderator, and then after that we'll throw it open to the floor, and the participants can also ask questions. So why do we keep striving for equality? This is important because despite the achievements of AkiDwA and similar organizations like this, migrant women in Ireland still face inequality, discrimination, and abuse. I'm sure we all agree with that. So my questions are a bit multidimensional. A few of them are on leadership, some on the organization AkiDwA itself, and then a few on the masterclass session we just had now. So perhaps I would start with something on leadership. Salome, what is your leadership mantra? Do you want to share that? Because you have a lot of leadership skills. I'm sure a lot of people want to learn from you, especially upcoming people in this field. What is your leadership mantra?
And one thing I do believe so much, you know, in any person in a position of leadership, and don't mark me wrong, because we are born leaders, you know, we have this leadership potential within our own homes and within our own lives. But when you're in a situation where, you know, you are a leader in an organization or a company, one thing I do believe is that the essence of leadership is getting things done. If you come up with an idea and you don't actually translate those ideas into actions, then they are not good. So the most important thing, and in what I believe, is that you translate whatever you have as a vision or whatever you have into your mind as actions. And this I mean in terms of, you know, we always come up with very good ideas of projects and we don't actually deliver them, or we do not push them. Some people actually work on them up to some stage and then they don't progress with them further. I said before I finished that, you know, my belief is that anything is possible. And if you have that attitude, then you can always work towards achieving what you want to achieve. And so for me, in using the whole idea of the essence of leadership is getting things done, is to ensure that when I'm working with the team, I delegate and I also follow up to make sure that all the things that I have delegated or what you have said we will do it. We normally actually come up with strategies and plans on how we're going to deliver things. And people always say, like, I remember even at the very beginning, one of the person who mocked AkiDwA, who mocked us, was that we want to chew too much, that you are taking too much. But there's nothing that you can take too much without knowing how to be able to deliver that. And that's all depends on the commitment of the team and how you motivate the team, but also how you bring all others along. Mantras could be many. I could actually talk of a lot of things because I also like working with others and collaborating with others to be able to achieve on what you would want to achieve. So it's that perspective that I bring of leadership, you know, bringing others along with me, ensuring that things are done, and also building others to be able to take up roles and execute at the same time.
Thank you so much. So just And just one last one on leadership. So would you say that, do you have a strategy of how to react when things don't go on as expected? Maybe you have certain strategies, because it's not all the time that you plan that things work out the way you have planned them. So when things don't go on as expected, you have certain strategies that you adopt.
Absolutely, because in most of in our work and what we do, and for example, you can even enter into collaboration with the people to work with the people and it doesn't work. But that doesn't mean that you should stop doing whatever you are doing because other people have let you down, or they have actually given up, or they're not even working according to how you would want it. So I believe in getting back to the team, and trying to articulate on where we have gone wrong and what has happened, and actually drive what we have planned to do forward. So for me, I do not believe in things not working. It's actually in checking on why didn't they work at the first place and how can we do things differently. But I also like listening from others, because some of the things that happens, you learn from them. And so I have also learned quite a lot from other people, whether they are young people. Actually, young people have challenged me quite a lot because, at some age, and when you're in something for so long, you only get to see your way as the way that, things should work better or should happen. But I've been challenged by young people where I have to be flexible. So I become flexible in everything that I do, even in learning, delivering some of the activities and services within AkiDwA. But just to say that if things doesn't work, what we do is to come back and see why didn't they work. But I also go back into the whole area of essence of leadership is getting things done, is ensuring that you have a plan and you're following that plan and you're checking every step of it on what is happening. So for example, with the team, we normally have team meetings in AkiDwA every Friday. We meet up and share on what every person is doing. We actually, in those meetings, then even put up some of steps and activities that will be happening the following week. And when we meet the following week, we'll be measuring, on where we are. And that's actually very good to have, because that way, if things doesn't work, at least you have tried, and then you could change them to a different way if need be for you to change in another way.
Thank you so much for that. I will throw the floor open to the participants, but I'll just ask this very important question, and I'm sure they all agree with me. Now, what piece of advice would you give to someone who is just establishing an NGO or a human rights network? You have been at this for at least not less than 20 years, and you've been through the ups and the downs. So what piece of advice would you give someone just establishing an NGO or a human rights network? Thank you.
I just actually want to encourage everybody and to let everyone know tonight that each and every one of us has the potential to actually trigger change. We all have different dams. All of us, the 7 billion or however many we are in the world, we have special dam. Our dam, nobody else will have it. Also our heart and soul, nobody else will have it. And so if we have this, we can bring different ideas, we bring different humor and different perspective, and it's just a matter of building on them. I go back to my saying of, that I believe anything is possible. And this is because if you come up with an idea and you commit yourself to execute it, you will definitely achieve it. You will achieve it if you actually go looking for the right people to help you and getting it out of your heart, to be able to help. So I just want to encourage everybody that, there's nothing impossible. If it is actually us, as migrant women who came here 20 years ago or 20 years plus ago, and we have been able to establish a platform that is recognized and actually respected in a country that I wasn't born, I would say that each and every one of us has the capacity and ability to do so. And the only thing is actually to look for the right people to be able to sell your idea and to work with those people with your idea. You will definitely get people who will come to distract you and people who will actually come to pull you down, but you really have to listen to your heart and give yourself time to be able to review on what you exactly want to do and who are the very right people to bring along. I also mentioned about I mentioned about the mentors. But also you don't have to depend so much on the mentors to do anything for you. You have to be the person gearing to do whatever you want to do. But anything is possible. Get out there and do what you are created to do, because all of us bring something very different to be able to bring different humor, different perspective, and also to heal the world and to do good things.
Thank you so much, Salome. Now, I'll throw the floor open to our participants. You can raise your hand and Alana will let you in to ask your questions or discuss your concerns.
Can I ask Salome?
We have a man first. Very interesting.
Hi, Salome. Thanks for the presentation. It was a very wonderful presentation. Very nice, actually. Just a small question, actually. You are here for more than 20 years. Just want to know, what is the main things you want to change in Ireland, actually, which is bothering you for a long time? And what is the 2 things you want to change? And just tell for us, please. Thank you.
The one thing, there are many things actually that I want to see change, in Ireland. And I needed to answer both of your questions. I would say that I'm driven by this urge of equality, because we are all born equal. But why do people create that writer for some writer for some people and they are not for other people? So that actually bothers me a lot, and that's what I've been trying to fight for the last 20 over 22 years, and even before I came to Ireland, because I have been an activist for a long time. For me, I try to pursue the equality of the access, the equality of opportunity, the equality of participation, because it's lacking. When we talk about migrant, and we all know what is happening, for example, in Ireland, migrants are still so far away to achieve any equality. For example, in accessing the labor market, we still have what we call the employer bias, that the employer can choose to employ whom they want to employ. If you are very dark and they don't like people from a different whatever perspective, they would do that. We also have people who tries to access services, but it's very, very difficult. We also have issues of racism and discrimination, both physical and and verbal going on. So we still live in a country where inequality is still so much there. And when we talk about migrant and migrant women, it's a reality that we are talking about. We are operating in those structures of where we really have to challenge this systemic kind of discrimination and racism as well, to be able to ensure that people are treated with dignity and respect. That's the kind of a society that we would all be proud to be living in, where people are able to access services, where people are able to feel part and parcel of that society. Still, we are so much far to reach out there.
Thank you, Salome. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions from the floor? Hi, Logan, we can see your face.
Hi, how are you? Well, I raised my hand earlier on. Senthil has already made a couple of points. Okay, I've followed you for many years, Salome, and the members of AkiDwA. And over the years, I've seen the progress and the problems we faced, and the how we encounter situations, and always we think positive anyway to try to get a better outcome for society as a whole. But all that's been going on throughout the world, and especially in Ireland, and our youth, the next generation, who are really not the future leaders, they are in fact the present and future leaders. What sort of message? I know many things inspiring, motivational, and we try to get the opportunities for people. But without, with all the barriers that we face, what sort of message would you, give out to, I'm sorry, don't mean give out, to create the opportunities for the younger generation, especially the African community, and how to really engage in such a way that we do not create more barriers. But I think you know what I'm trying to say after working with you for so many years. And thank you and congratulations once again. You've done as always, fantastic work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Logan. And just to say that, we in AkiDwA, as part of our 20th anniversary, we've been meeting TDs, minister, influential people, because what we have done in AkiDwA, we've tried to identify the work that we have done, identify what has been achieved, but also what are the gaps. And our concern at the moment is the second generations of migrants. And this is actually a huge concern for the whole society and for the whole country. We had a meeting with the Minister Ogoman yesterday, and all the ministers that we are meeting and people, we are talking about the second generations, because that's where the whole shift will come. The generations now of people who are born in Ireland from the migrant community or who came here as young people, they are not going to take what we have taken. We have actually tried, to fight quite a lot and to shape things quite a lot. We have succeeded, and in some way we have failed. But the young people who are growing up here will not take what we have taken. So what we have actually been communicating is that the need for the state to take responsibility and to check what needs to be done to facilitate the future generations of migrants to be people who are actually going to feel like they're part and parcel of the society, and that they grow within the understanding of the fact that they're supported and they're part and parcel of the society, and that they are treated equally. I always tell people, although we are saying that we have discrimination and racism, there are a lot of opportunities in Ireland. And I have seen, for example, those opportunities myself, opportunities to participate in different, different courses, opportunities actually to maybe even get some jobs. You apply for some jobs, you don't get them, but you still continue to be nuisance and you continue to push. So what I would encourage the second generation and anybody who is listening is not to give up. It's to know that the opportunities which are there are for everybody in Ireland, and you try to put yourself forward. And I know, because I'm working with young people who are trying very hard, that we continue to push these young people to access the opportunities which are there, and also referring people. Like most of us actually who are here as the first generation of migrants, we have been connected with different people, different organizations, and some situations of how young people can be helped. Although they are helping themselves as young people, we should all try to help and support the second generation to be better than we are, and also building them to be able to push this kind of, there's actually some spark which is here now, based on what happened with George Floyd last year, that young people have come up to speak. They've come up to show where they want to be and what they want to, what they want to be. So it would be good for all of us to encourage them and also to be able to give them those opportunities. So I try, for example, to pass some opportunities if I get them, to them, to young people. We have a young migrant women, or even if it's not within AkiDwA, outside AkiDwA itself. But we should be able to share these opportunities, and we should also be able to encourage young people to speak out and to engage, within the broader setup of the society. I was actually also telling people that, recently you saw that I was appointed to chair the public job, equality and diversity, diversity and inclusion program. And I was telling them, we have people who have been born here, they've gone to the universities here, they have been educated to the very high standard. And this is the future we are talking about. If we want to avoid the worst out of the future, we have to be able also to come up with ways of supporting those who are left behind. Because we have young people who are doing very well, but we also have young people from the migrant community who are left behind. They need to support these people. We've actually, for example, suggested on an establishment of a task force, looking into the migrant issues and how they can be supported. And such kind of things. So our strategy for young migrants or generations, future generations of migrants, to be looked into seriously, because if we fail to do it now, this is the time to inject change. If we want to see the fruits of the 21st century, we have to do things now rather than waiting for them when it's too late. I hope I will to answer your question,
Yes, sir, indeed. You spread your words quite wisely, and I think we all have to be practical about situations. But of course, there will come a time when we all leave. But then our legacies are what's going to be really more motivational and to help and inspire people. I know I keep repeating the words inspire and motivate. But nevertheless, we also must make sure that we leave things in the safe hands of others too, so that they are either not coerced or they are not opportunistic as well. And what's happening in Africa today, all our leaders, and that's not just Africa, many parts of the world. And that is more of a concern in this day and age, what's going to really happen, because we won't be here to say it, but we may be able to watch it from above, but that won't be good enough. So we have to leave the work to be, to encourage people to carry on the work that, people like you are doing on a very, very, in a manner which is actually strengthening people all the time. That's as much I can say. And thank you very much, Salome. Great work.
Thank you.
Congratulations to all of you again.
Yeah. We
Thank
have
you,
a young
Logan.
migrant women group, so people can, if people want to check, actually, we are soon going to put information on our website about them. And we have so many things as well that are going on. But we already have a young migrant women because they are the future of our organization, for example. So we have to keep on rebuilding this and then trying to work along, with them. They actually have a webinar coming up next week, talking about leadership and excelling, in groups and in whatever they do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Logan. Thank you. I pray that your hand heals very fast.
Yes, too many complications, age factor. And the other thing is, I keep highlighting about carelessness and negligence of the carers, and my conditions of going forwards, I'm going backwards all the time. Now, I can't use both my hands either. So prevention is better than cure, as we say. And I'm still fighting the battles on my own because I try not to involve anybody else. And this is one other thing that's motivational to us, that we stand our ground too, and so that we are not walked over. And that's an ongoing thing that's happening every day of the year. So thank you, Princess or Pamela, as I prefer to call you Pamela anyway. But nevertheless, I just have to say, I'm glad I took part in this. I got another meeting to go to at 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Party political thing, and to do with a lot of diversity work and inclusion and how to overcome barriers. And the other thing I'm getting more involved in again is the joint policing community of what's happening to people. Thank you. On that note, God bless and stay safe.
Well done
Thank
with
you.
the
It's
work
great
you're
to see all of
doing.
you again. Thank you very much.
Thank
Can I
you.
just jump in there as well?
Yes, please.
Hi, hello everybody. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be part of this event. Salome, congratulations of your future position and the work that you've been done with AkiDwA. I've been here for over 25 years, and I remember you. I remember Princess Tina. So many people that have been able to shape the lives of all of us living here. It's, we can kind of say, different in the house. That's kind of how I say, we are here to stay. This is our home. My question, part of my question you answered, because I was gonna ask you about the youth, because of so many issues happening with our young, young boys, especially, that are raising and are being involved with so many issues that can affect their future, and they can definitely, affect, their potential future, and they're involving themselves into that. And the other one as well, which I think it's a lot left behind, is the mothers that came here with these children, that they have, they have raised their children, they have sacrificed their lives, making sure that the kids are well educated. They themselves did not have any education. They were part of volunteer group. They're part of helping, to shape up, and to do whatever they could in the way. But now some of them are available to, to be involved into some more things, or maybe to go to the work first, and they feel lost. what is the encouragement, you know, of trying to get them not only out of the house, but to feel that, you know, that their job is not done, you know, like, you know, that we should still have that mentality, you know, as we have in Africa, which is, you know, a community raise a child, you know. So if we say that our job is done just by raising our own kids, then we are not really honoring that statement. So how do you feel, AkiDwA, or maybe yourself, how do you think that, you know, not only this woman, but the young one, you know, young people can be empowered and feel that, you know, the stigma, you know, with whatever difficulties and barriers they have in life can be abolished or they can overcome? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rosile. And actually, like you said, we have a problem of targeting of young migrant for exploitations. You know, and I know you've heard about you know, how young people are being targeted, you know, to be exploited by either people who want to use them for different things, and they end up sometimes being entered into crime or being entered into things that, you know, will affect them and affect their future. And we really have to talk as a society. We have to talk and discuss about these things, but not only talk, come up with the strategies of how we are going to tackle these problems. These are issues that we have been talking about. You know, we've been actually meeting with, for example, the youth division, Gadi. We've been meeting with them to talk on how young people can be helped more. Not that people, you know, trust Gadi very well, or that they don't fear them. Some young people do fear them because of their experiences, but we have to build their capacity for them to be able to understand their rights. You know, we have to be able to organize programs. It's also actually, you know, challenging also to be able to bring young people into kind of activities and events that will keep them, you know, motivated. We need to come up with new ideas of how do we keep young people motivated. When the organization started, you know, many women were worried about their residency or their immigration status. We've actually gone beyond that now, because we have many people who have become citizens, and like you have said, some of the mothers now, you know, they are not in that caring role as per se. You know, some of their children have grown up and they have more time for themselves now. And the most important thing is to continue encouraging them. In AkiDwA, we keep on coming up with new innovative ideas. At the moment, we have a project with PEPO where we are actually currently targeting women in direct provision, but we will move maybe to target women like the ones you're talking about, Ruzia here, on how we can help them to maybe access labor market based maybe on the qualifications that they have gained. Because what I know and what I believe in AkiDwA over the years, we have kept on telling women to go back to college and better themselves, so that when the time comes, they will be able to participate equally in the labor market. And so some of these women are very highly qualified. They have the qualifications. The problem is to get the jobs. You'll find that most of them end up actually doing the care work or ending up to work in care when they are very, very highly and well qualified. These are the women that we work with to be able to ensure that we support them to get jobs that matches their qualifications. So these are all things that we're going to work on. We also have another program that is going to come up called In From the Margin. And this is actually a project of the migrant women who are from 65 all the way up, to help them and to work with them. We had actually, for example, one of the women who was past 65, she used to work in care. Now she cannot even get jobs in care because they are, you know, choosing, you know, whoever they want to give. So it's very, very difficult and very challenging for many women out there, even those who would want to work, but they are not able to access those jobs. But there are also other alternatives that people can be facilitated to be able to access, such as starting entrepreneurship. You know, we have many people who have actually skills and knowledge on how to start entrepreneurship and how to support them. So definitely these groups of women, you know, will be our concern of now, because their needs have changed. You know, from when they came, they were caring for their children and minding them, but now they're at a stage where they can engage more, you know, in many different ways. But they have to be motivated, because many people feel so much demotivated because of the experiences of maybe of discrimination, because of the experiences of not being able to navigate the system, because they have language barrier, they have all these things. So as a community, we have to be able to map on the needs of now, because the needs of 20 years ago have definitely changed from what we have now. And so these are issues that we would be looking into. And if there's anybody in this group who want to maybe give suggestions or to work with us in any way, we would very much welcome this. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Salome. Anybody else? I was just going to say that talking about 20 years of building resilience, do you do anything daily to increase your personal resilience as CEO of an NGO, as a commissioner for human rights, as a research consultant, as an activist, as a family woman? Do you do anything daily to increase your personal resilience?
That's a very good question, Pam, because there are many, many challenges being in my shoes, you know, and we didn't even talk about how people have so many expectations, you know, because people see you in the commission, so they think, oh, she's working with the government. Actually, they don't even understand that the commission is an independent body, that, you know, it's independent in its own. And also that, you know, because I'm in the commission, I'll make this, you know, I'll bring this big change. So every migrant will have now better rights or anything like that.
You, yes.
Yeah, but so it's very, very challenging, you know, meeting those, you know, expectations, and at the same time being able to actually attend everybody. And some people feel let down because you're working in a situations where there are so many needs, and then the resources are so little, or there are no resources. Take an example, we only have 5 staff within AkiDwA. We are serving a country which has almost 500, half of actually the population of migrants, you know, 230 migrant women, 1,000 migrant women. So how can we reach the needs of all these people? Needs are diverse at the same time. So for me, what I do most of the time, I actually try to be very positive, and I try to affirm myself with positive talk and positive thought, that I cannot give everything that everybody expects, that I will stand, even if people think negatively about me or take that I didn't help them, that I have to understand where they're coming from. And so it's actually really meditating. It's also, you know, taking a break, you know, maybe having a walk and saying that this Saturday I'm not working. Because again, when you're in a leadership position, you will be working 7 days, 365 days sometimes if you open yourself to that. So I choose to take time myself, you know, and also do therapy on my own and on myself, so that I can be able to be a better person. But it's definitely very, very challenging. But you have to be able to take that time. You also have to know that you cannot meet the demands and needs of everybody, that you can only do the very best you can to support people and to help people.
Thank you so much, Salome. Anybody else with questions, please?
Yeah, I think I have my hand raised here. Nobody, I mean, you didn't notice my hand, but anyway. I just want to congratulate Salome and the AkiDwA family for their 20th anniversary and, you know, the work done. What strikes me of AkiDwA, unlike many other women groups, is, you know, that kind of stretching of the hand to men and working with men and wanting to, you know, not only be a woman organization, but also involve men in some of the activities. I think this is something that is really, you know, very brilliant, and, you know, and it should be encouraged, because if you look at men in our societies, and I'm only talking about African men, and I know Irish men are almost close to African men, as you can imagine. You know, men are very close in, and, you know, with AkiDwA, you know, trying to stretch out to reach out to men, I think, you know, is very important, because if we talk about issues of gender-based violence, if we talk about issues of, you know, gender mainstreaming and all that, we'll have to involve men so that this kind of, you know, issues can be addressed as a holistic approach. So I don't know, Salome, maybe you might shed a light on that. I mean, what triggered you to you know, even start involving men and, you know, using that kind of, you know, way of, you know, development approach where you're including everybody, I mean, to tackle women issues? I think this is really fascinating and very encouraging.
It's actually didn't happen just suddenly from the very beginning. From the very beginning, we actually discussed with the women, and when we started doing the outreach and networking in these 16 counties, we kept on actually going on. At the very end, we had reached all the 26 counties in Ireland, and in some of our outreach and networking, women were very clear. They said they didn't want to be in situations where they are together with men, and especially men from their own community. Remember, we come from different communities as well and different continents, because anything that they may say in those meetings may be taken back to their own communities, and they would suffer for that. We also had men who didn't want their women to come to our services, and in particular the domestic violence services. And so for us at the beginning, we just crossed AkiDwA completely to women, to be an only women's space. We wanted it to be safe, and we wanted it to be for women to be able to open up and to talk. But as time went by, and I remember it was back in 2009, and our office at the time was in Abbey Street. We had this therapy center where women used to drop in, and we used to also have some sewing classes and different things taking place there. And the women said that if we didn't want things to change, we have now to bring men. But what I want to say is that it's very important that the women get their own space before men can come in. I think by the time the men came in, we had already built the capacity of the women, and the women were able to know about their rights, and they were comfortable, speaking out and standing up. Because also some of the sessions that we did, and I don't know whether Ejide is in this group, some of the sessions that were done with men at the very beginning, men felt that the Irish laws favors women a lot, and they favors migrant women a lot. And so there was already a conflict there arising, that men felt that women are being favored and they are being treated, better, than them, and all those kind of things. And so we wanted also the men to be able to understand about our work with women on domestic violence and on female genital mutilation as well. So what we did was that we started actually mobilizing men and working with men. And lately, and Stephen, you have actually been very much involved with AkiDwA in our work on reproductive health. We came to learn that most of the time women are trying to negotiate on their of reproductive health with their husband, because their husband are actually sometimes very difficult, even in choosing what contraceptive the women to use. And so if we wanted to change anything, whether it's in our work on reproductive health or our work on female genital mutilation or domestic violence, we have to bring the men. And this is the whole strategy that we should actually take up, because we are living now in a world where we continue to talk about gender equality, but we continue to talk about those gender equality without bringing men. Yet we have what we call the male dominance, gender relations of power, and all these things. So we definitely need to work along with men to be able to achieve the best outcome for the women.
Thank you so much, Salome. I can't see any raised hands. I think the host, Alana, can see. Alana, is there anybody else who's trying to raise their hands? They may have concerns.
Pamela, I think the lady that has, Pamela, the lady that has the description, Ed Malloy, on a blue chair, she's been raising her hand. Yeah.
Okay, I can see it from here. I thought Alana would be able to see that. Sorry about that. Please, can you ask your question?
Ed, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, it's not really a question. I want to congratulate AkiDwA and Salome in particular for what she herself singled out, for sticking to the task. It was not easy, obviously. And giving in to strain, for not even showing stress when she must have experienced a lot of stress. So for that alone, I want to say many congratulations. And 20 years have gone very quickly, but she has gone through a lot, as has the organization. The thing was to give these separate, disparate groups of women a home base, someplace to come to, someone that you could turn to. And I know of instances just from attending AkiDwA where people were under extreme strain in the particular communities where they lived, or, you know, sometimes even to get a child to school, things like that. Now, I never knew or had any sense of how these things were resolved, but evidently they were resolved. So AkiDwA is not just an organization with grandiose, you know, ideas about what it should achieve. It started off in the best possible way, having a serious task and actually tackling it from moment to moment. And I put a lot down to Salome's leadership, but also to her ability, which she has mentioned herself, to attract help, to bring people in, to not let anyone feel excluded. So I feel that if it is 20 years we're celebrating, we want to notice the things, and she's made a whole list of them, that you want to preserve in the organization. Memory in an organization is extremely important, because I know from my own experience as I worked in the public service where I came from, and when people get lax and, or get overly ambitious and take over from somebody just because it was a place to take over, memory is lost. So it's hugely important for AkiDwA that the built-in memory be there, that you hold on to some people for some time and hand over, this handover thing that you actually did effectively. And I just want to wish you the best. Of course, as somebody who did not, all of us are immigrants, but not all of us are migrants. I did not come from a migrant situation. And sometimes I feel that as the former younger people who are now growing up in AkiDwA will want to see life slightly differently as well. They're not migrants anymore, they're Irish citizens. And I know that embodied in Salome's is the possibility of giving a certain presence in Ireland to AkiDwA. But sometimes I worry that the society, the wider society, is not sufficiently aware of its responsibility either to train Irish people to open itself to newcomers. For example, I have friends who who came to Ireland as migrants, but privileged migrants. They had education or something. And the younger ones of them are in good jobs in Ireland, but they suffer a kind of prejudice. And I feel one day I hope that for all that you've taken on, it will be possible for your presence to be sufficiently felt for people in the kinds of jobs these people go to know this boy, this woman or man is not isolated. They belong to, they have people there to support them. So while I think because there will always be new people coming into Ireland and there will always be a job for AkiDwA to do, there's also a slight job of increasing AkiDwA's presence, or at least a presence of African people who count because they've been here and they know the score, and people will not somehow assume if you're working somewhere out in leak slip that you don't have anybody to defend you. You know what I mean? They don't join unions and so on. So to that extent, your outreach might, for the future, not now because you have things to do, take that particular thing into account. Would that strike you as something that could be included in your agenda? That's my question.
Thank you, Madam Molloy. Good to see you again after many years. Salome, do you want to wrap up before we finish tonight?
I think Betty wanted to say something.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted just to say thank you, Salome, for your presentation. It was excellent. And with your journey, And I just want and thank you for the AkiDwA. And I just want to ask a question, just say, how do you see the future of the young ones? Will it be better or it will be worse? As you see now, the world is changing. They can get sometimes you can get a better job, that the challenge will be exclusion. That's what you're gonna suffer. And sometimes they won't let you go up. You can go for interview and you don't get the job. That is the main frustration. So how do you think about the young ones in the future?
I just actually want to say that, the future of, migrants will be determined by the migrant themselves and actually those young people. For example, during the time, and you saw the video at the beginning, and I spoke about the women who, when we started, there's some people, we started the journey together, they are no longer within this journey, because that's the future, that's the dynamic of how future works. Things changes with time. And, we were very determined to be able to do something based on our experience of the time. So I believe that even for the future, it will be determined by the young people and how they take things that are going on. If they actually allow for discrimination and racism to escalate, to continue to escalate, it will continue to be so. So from AkiDwA, for example, we are trying to work with young migrant women to be able to continue challenging this inequality that exists. And that is actually by forming themselves as group and mobilizing themselves to be able to share their experiences, but also to be able to come up with actions of what can be done. So the future so much will be determined on these young people. Remember, when we came, we didn't have the kind of some of the things that we have now, including the way we communicate. When we came, actually, we had things like Facebook. Now we are talking about TikToks, and where you can do something very quickly and communicate with the world very quickly. The young people have the ability and the opportunity to significantly change things in Ireland around for migrants. But this actually depends on how they're supported as well by maybe people like us who are in a position to carry them around. But also those young people have to be open to work with us and to work with others. Because I've heard also young people saying, they've been speaking for us, they've been doing things for us. The young people need to be able to work with others to be able to create this kind of an environment and a future that will not be a regretted future like the one we have come through. I would say that actually we have fought a lot and we have fought a good battle, most of us. So I wouldn't regret, for example, anything that we have done. I would be very much happy, to mentor. I want to ask people to look for role models and also for mentors. We have mentors for migrant community. We have a lot of them. I mentor people. If young people are interested, I can mentor them as well. I can take some of them, but they need to be able to know what they want to do and what they want to become. There's no need of them thinking that, Ireland is not good, we cannot get job, let's go to Australia, let's go to UK. The situations are always the same. And you will always feel, like you failed to do something. So it will be very important that, they try to build their future here and they target themselves into where they would want to be in the future. So I'm very sure that, there are other organizations that have been started by the young people. They are there. There are so many other organizations that are mushrooming, are coming up. And I see a bright future. What I have seen, because we've also had meetings with young people within the commission, is that, they are very determined to change the situations of how things have been going on. And they are very clear that they're not going, that we took all those stress that we took and agreed to live in situations that we found ourselves in, but for them, they're not going to take that. So I'm hoping that they're very determined to be able to articulate on how they're going to change things around and work on things around in creating that integrated society that we're all looking forward to. I also want to assure people that, even speaking in front of people, even doing anything, it didn't happen to me it didn't happen to me today. This is something that I have built for so long. building the skills that you have. I used to be very emotional. I could go to meetings, and I start crying, and I'm representing a big organization. I go to places and I feel very uncomfortable, and I question a lot of things. I'm very angry. So everything that we have become, especially I have become, and everything that is happening has been built with the time. But one thing that I know is that there are opportunities out there, and the future is much more brighter from any situations that we are living in. The Salome you see today is not the Salome who was there when she came just as a migrant who worked in care first. I worked with the elderly, and to be able to cry. But you have to be able to open yourself and expand your comfort zone to be able to achieve. And this can only be achieved by people who are determined to make that change happen. So again, with young people, it will only happen if they actually make that their decision, and based on how much do they want that change to happen.
Yeah, thank you, Salome.
I see Eniora raising her hand, Pamela.
Okay.
And last time.
Eniola, please.
This Eniora.
Hello, good evening. Congratulations to Salome and to all of us. It's just like yesterday when we started 20 years ago. Yeah. And I just want to congratulate you, Salome. I thank you for your leadership. I remember every good thing starts very small. And I know even for our young people, maybe they are watching us or they know about AkiDwA. I know the sky is the limit for them, because I know that time, it's good to have a leader like Salome that have the love of everyone at heart. You carry everybody along. There is no shady thing going on. We know everything going on. And you wanted the best for us. I remember when we went to Wicklow Mountains. I forgot the name of the lady that went with us to draw out the plan and everything for AkiDwA. And I just want to congratulate you again. I celebrate your leadership. I celebrate your boldness, your tenacity, your forthrightness, and your focus. You are focused. You are a very focused leader. And that is one of the things that I think the younger generation needs, the leaders, they need to learn from you. Because despite everything, you are focused, you know what you want. I remember all those days when we went to the fire station in Dublin, we were doing the leadership course, building our capacity. We meet in the hotel. I forgot the name of the hotel now on O'Connell Street. We are always meeting there and things like that. And you are telling us that, we have a very wonderful future. And I thank God for you today. I'm a trainer today because you taught me about training. I remember when you give myself and Pamela the script and we are going, we train with bosses, you'll be talking to us on the phone, and this is the way to do it. And I just want to celebrate you. I celebrate you, and I thank God for you, and I wish you all the best. And I know, even among our children, there are still more Salomes that are coming up. Yes. And that is the joy of it. Yeah. There are more Salomes coming up, and that is the joy of it. That when they go through this land and, they are seen in high places, they will say, what is the motivation? And they will say, there is a lady that came from Kenya, from Sisters of Africa, AkiDwA. She did this, and that's my motivation. I know a lot of people, they've heard about you, they don't even know you, but they know Salome. And they've seen your work. They have never met you. And I know very, very soon, we will all stand up in this nation and say, thank God for Salome. And I'm still thanking God for you. Thank you so much for your leadership. I appreciate you. I say it everywhere. You are the one that taught me how to be a trainer. Before getting a trainer, before doing the course to get the certificate. Thank you so much for every opportunity that you've given to most of us, too numerous to mention, because you are always, pushing us, telling us we can do it. Thank you so much. I celebrate you. And to all my sisters, AkiDwA, the one that started, the one that are there now, all over the years, congratulations to us. We are winning. and we cannot keep quiet. We have the energy, we have the zeal, we have the backup, and we have a leader. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pamela. Thanks, Eniora. I just actually wanted to say, you know, and I remember the days with Eniora, and we were struggling with the issues of racism. It was huge, both verbal and physical racism.
Yes.
And they used to have a church behind Moore Street. So there was a church behind where women used to meet after the church. And I asked their pastor if he could allow me to speak to the women. And actually, he did allow me to speak to the women. And Yora was the leader there. I think she was one of the working with pastor herself. Yeah. And so we started with a training on understanding racism and its impact into the society. We said it was our children are suffering. We are suffering as well. We are in a society where we want to help. And Eniora, thank you. You are one of the people who went around, you know, in schools and delivering training. Actually ended up facilitating women who are running that training. But just to say that, you know, we have fought a battle that we cannot forget. And hopefully in the future, we'll write a book to talk about this. The people who inspires me, you know, was Sister Joanne McManus, who helped us.
Yes.
AkiDwA. Unfortunately, Sister Joanne passed on in 2019. But Sister Joanne always related AkiDwA with the Catherine Macaulay Center. Because the person who had started the Catherine Macaulay Center wanted actually better lives for women who are coming from urban places in Ireland to have a place to stay when they come to work in Dublin and all that. And she felt that I was looking for the same, especially for African women living in Ireland. So may her soul rest in peace. Amen. But also I'm inspired by Professor Wangari Maathai, and I'll leave you with this. We can only do the best we can, the time we can be able to do it. And if we live to regret our lives and what we could have done and we have not done, we better actually, if we're not doing anything, start it now and believe that each and every one of us, even those who are listening now, can do something. You can help somebody with a word, you can help somebody with a letter, you can help somebody actually to develop and to advance. I've been supported quite a lot by many people, and even in this meeting today. And like I said, Irish Indigenous women have been very, very instrumental in my life.
Yes.
Some of the organizations that have supported our work, I see Siobhan from Action Aid and how we have worked with them, you know, over the years, and actually standing with the organization and standing with us, speaking out even when migrant women are not featured in things, and they speak out to bring them along. And also thanking the men, you know, because we need them as our allies to be able to progress. So the future is even not the limit. And maybe we'll be calling you more. Remember, we have more masterclasses coming. I'll be having more celebrations to celebrate my doctorate as well, and also to celebrate AkiDwA when this lockdown is lifted up. So we will have proper celebrations.
Thank you.
And a wonderful role model too. And one very beautiful thing I learned from Salome is that she makes you feel good about yourself. She makes you feel worthy all the time. She just, except you really know our worth or our value, you know, she's just so good. So I want to say congratulations to you and thank you for being you. Thanks for all you do and for being who you are and being and also for being a great inspiration to me and many others. Thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So in conclusion, I just want to say that outside women, we all have the moral responsibilities or obligations to continue to strive for gender equality. No doubt AkiDwA performs more roles in women's development circles, working with not just the government, but also with community groups, with private sector to plan, to implement programs, as well as monitor and evaluate the progress of these programs. So we all must join our forces together to support AkiDwA with its vision and mission. On behalf of AkiDwA, I want to thank all participants of today's program for being part of the very beginning. Like Salome said at the beginning, she said this is first of series of masterclasses. So we are going to have a lot of sessions. There's goodies in store for everyone. So I want to thank Salome, Dr. Salome Mbugua. I want to thank Alana and the media team. I want to thank you all for your listening ear, for participating, for your contribution, and for giving, and all those that have given one support or another. So we look forward to the next session. If you have questions or to know more about it, I think, Alana, can you please display the social media handles for AkiDwA? You can go on the website, you can go on Facebook, you can go on Instagram, AkiDwA.
Yeah, and even the
And
next session, I think she has the next session as well. She can show people the next upcoming session.
Can you see that there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, that's our next session coming up.
With of May 2021 from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. and it will be online like this.
Are we going to be getting email reminder as we already participate on the first session?
Yes.
Yes,
she'll send all of you an invitation. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then these are our social media handles if you want to follow us on any of them.
Yes. Follow and draw more crowd.
Thank you.
Like
Thank you,
friends
everyone.
to follow as well.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank